So once we get the two panels in around the penetration, then I need to work from the bottom up. With all installation of metal, as long as you're working from the ground up, you'll be lapping your metal correctly. So we're going to go to the front of the penetration, and we always need to flash the panels at the top side of the ribs. So in this case, we're going to run a pitch brake along the front side of the rib and up the face of the penetration. This is a new pitch brake flashing. The new pitch brake flashing has a 1-inch tab on the back side that is an open hem. This open hem will allow us to slide onto a Z closure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece, pitch brake, put it onto right up tight to the penetration. And what's very important here is that this flashing pitch brake stays at the same plane or greater of this panel. With all flashings, they should always be either at the same plane of the roof or directing water down toward the roof. So in this case, I'll get it in place in the same plane, and I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark the rib and I'm going to mark the corners so that I know where to put my closures. Once I do that, I'll pull this off, and I'll take a piece of Z closure and I'm going to cut it to fit here. It's very important is in your first cut that you're going to leave a 1-inch tab. So I'll go in approximately 1 inch. Cut that tab, turn that tab right in. Piece is a little long, so I'll trim it down. Once I put it in place, I'll then mark the back side. This line here, along the side of the penetration, that line is going to continue down to that line, so that when I place this closure in, I want that line to follow right down through my closure. And there we go. And now I'll cut that and I'll turn a 1-inch tab on that piece of flashing. So when it's in place, tab up against the rib, tab turning up the roof, right along that line, right in place. Once I do that, then I'm going to make a channel that is going to complete this connection. So I want to have metal that continues down and closes off this area here. Now simply putting a Z closure in this area would cause an issue because I'd have this 1-inch tab hanging over. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'll just take a piece of Z closure, cut it down so that it's slightly longer than I need it to be, and I'm going to turn this Z closure into a C channel. Take my hand folds and I'm just going to flatten it right out. As I mentioned before, to make your bend more precise, go ahead and put a little notch on each side of the metal. And I'll just finish it right around with the hand folds. So that as I'm finished, I just got a channel, looks like a C, called a C channel. This piece of metal I want to slide right back up in here. So I'll cut a tab on this also. Slide right up in there. And then I want my connection to be right once this Z-closure is installed. I have my C-channel and my Z-closure in place. I want this edge to come all the way through. That's going to be my cut. So to make that cut, I'm going to take my pencil and mark the edge of that Z-closure onto the C-channel. Complete the cut. And once together, two pieces will slide into place, and I've got a complete closure with proper watershed all the way down and around. I'll then put butyl tape on the bottom and top of these closures and install the pitch brake. Notice that I've cut notches out of the top of the C-channel before installation. That allows me to get the drill motor into position to drive the screw straight into the roof. I've placed the double bead butyl tape underneath the closures, and now I'm placing it on the top of the closure. And this will seal up this area. Once that's completed, I'm going to have this panel will hook onto these Z-closures with the butyl tape over top. I'm now hooked onto the Z-closure at the bottom. Can't come up, and I'll put two fasteners on the high side into the penetration. Sealed off. Once we have the front, the pitch brake in the front completed, we'll then transfer over to the sides. And on the side, what we're going to have is a rake wall flashing.